If you guys love Bad Day HQ, don't forget to check out Good Day HQ, available at youtube.com/gooddayhq. It features the best in reality television, travel shows, and just general fun stuff to bring a smile to your day.
Life is made up of choices. Sometimes, even those made with the best of intentions can result in tragedy that no one could imagine or predict. In the heart of a Texas oil field, the decision to save money brings disaster to a community and its beloved school. Thursday, March 18th, 1937. On a beautiful spring morning in Rusk County, Texas, children arrive for another day of school. Fifth grader Bill Thompson and his younger sister Linnell are among them.
I remember it being a warm spring day. Everything was normal. Everybody was doing their daily routine of getting together and gabbing, and then the school took up.
Most of the children have fathers who work the giant oil fields that surround New London, Texas, 160 kilometers east of Dallas. One of the world's richest oil deposits was discovered here in 1930, bringing incredible wealth to a region hit hard by the Depression.
New London in 1937 was a booming oil town. All the major companies, a lot of independent companies, they just had camps everywhere. It's just like a gold rush town. Drew people from all over the country. But in 1934, all the outlying small schools were consolidated into one school. We went from a 3-teacher school to a 30-something teachers.
New London Consolidated is more than just a school. It's an entire campus that includes an elementary school, a gymnasium, even a lighted football field. But the campus showcase is the junior-senior high school, framed in steel with a roof of red tile. The 2-story building of brick and stone houses some 700 children in grades 5 through 11.
The oil industry made this school the richest school in the world. And it wasn't anything that the children needed that the school didn't furnish.
Molly Seeley's best friend, Geneva Jolly, is already a high school junior. But 10-year-old Molly has one more year in elementary school.
She and I were just really close. But now she was a little older than I was. She was about 2 years older than I was, but we would just lived across the street and we just hit it off just fine.
Both girls are excited because today is the last day of classes. Tomorrow, all students will attend an annual scholastic and athletic competition for the whole district. It is also the day of the monthly PTA meeting, which usually means early dismissal. That will not be the case today.
It came on the intercom that we would not get out. We'd go to school all day, but we would be out of school the next day for county meet.
By 3 p.m., high school students are attending their last class of the day. Elementary children have already been dismissed and are boarding the bus for home. 8th grader Dorothy Womack helps out in the high school library, although she'd rather be in science class with best friend Ardith Davidson.
I had tried so much to get in that science class because my good friend Ardith was in that class, but they had put me somewhere in another class. Ardith and I were real close, and we were more like sisters because I never did have a sister.
Still, she gets to work in the library with another good friend, Pearl Shaw. Pearl's uncle is William Shaw, the school's superintendent. 2 months earlier, he persuades the school board to heat the school by tapping into a nearby oil field gas line. It is a common practice in a time when oil companies have little use for the byproduct known as natural gas.
The uses for it were not immediately appreciated. People were looking for oil, and when they found gas, this was initially a disappointment. It's my understanding that the gas was given to the school board free, and this was meant to be, it was a very generous gesture.
The gas feeds into the building through lines under the floor, including an unoccupied crawl space in the basement of the West Wing, not far from the manual training shop.
They had classrooms half in the basement, but they were not connected with this basement except for the shop class.
In the last few days, several students have complained of headaches and burning eyes, but no one connects it with the possible leak of odorless gas. 3:10 p.m. It is now just 20 minutes before the end of high school classes. In the campus gymnasium, some 50 mothers attend the monthly PTA meeting. One of them, 40-year-old Eula Walker, goes to the school office to run an errand before meeting her son and 2 daughters.
That she had gone into the office to buy some lunch tickets, you know.
In Ann Wright's English class, 12-year-old Ike Chalice works on a composition assignment. When his family moved to New London just a month ago, school officials put him in the elementary school.
I complained to the teacher, well, I'd had this before and I'd had that before, and so they moved me up to junior high, 5th grade.
In the same room, Bill Thompson asks classmate Ethel Dorsey for a favor.
I asked the little girl that sat in front of me if she would trade seats with me. And she did. I wanted to sit behind a little girl that I wanted to flirt with.
Outside, the school bus pulls away from the campus with a busload of elementary school children, including 10-year-old Molly Seeley. It is 3:17 p.m. In the high school's basement wood shop, instructor Lemmy Butler plugs in an electric belt sander not far from the open door to the unoccupied crawl space.
And it sparked, and when it sparked, it was a combustion explosion.
A big ball of fire just burst out into the room. Several of them were burned. The shop teacher, he was right near the door. When through the switch, he was burned black, he said.
The building explodes from the ground up, the concrete floor blasting through the roof.
Everything went up, including me. It whirled around, came down. And I was covered with debris, the ceiling blown in on us, and the wall plastered, and everything was just total darkness.
In the school library, Dorothy Womack and Pearl Shaw feel the floor rise beneath them.
When the explosion happened, I was knocked under this counter, and these steel file cabinets fell down over the counter, and I was under here. Then the roof and everything else came in on top of that. And Pearl, she was to my left. She was blown up and over from me.
On the crest of the hill, just beyond the campus, the driver and passengers of the school bus can't believe their eyes.
As a little over 10-year-old child, I thought it was smoke. But it was not smoke, it was powdered mortar turned to dust.
No one knows who has survived and who has not, as the New London school disintegrates in front of them. Thursday, March 18th, 1937. On the outskirts of New London, Texas, just minutes before class dismissal, the community high school has disappeared in a swirling gray cloud. Already, frantic mothers attending a PTA meeting claw at the debris with bare hands, trying to reach survivors trapped beneath the twisted wreckage. They are soon joined by truckloads of men from surrounding oil fields, as word of the tragedy spreads through the county.
The oil field shut down and brought all their men over, which was around 1,500, plus other people that swarmed in here to help, but the oil fields brought their heavy equipment and started getting all that angle iron and all that slabs of concrete out.
It is quickly apparent that the death toll will be high. Many of the victims have been crushed under tons of concrete and stone. Others have been torn apart by the force of the explosion. Sections of one wing, however, still stand, sheltering those who have miraculously survived. 12-year-old Bill Thompson is one of them.
A beam had fell across my leg, and I guess all the mortar and brick and stuff just encased me. I could just move one hand, and my leg had no feeling in it because where that beam was laid.
What Bill doesn't know is that classmate Ike Chalice is within arm's reach, also trapped in the rubble.
I just woke up and I couldn't move. The dust, I guess, filtered down through the concrete and stuff above and got to me to where I couldn't breathe good. And everybody else is hollering, so I did too. Somebody stepped on the debris above me, and I said, "Ouch, you're stepping on my head." And about that time, well, he started clawing away and dug me out. While they were getting me out, I could hear the screams of the parents that was panicking and running around looking for their kids, wanting to know, "Have you seen my child?"
Dorothy Womack is still trapped under the counter in what was once the school library.
I could hear them outside screaming, out in the reading room, because they were on the floor that had not fallen down.
Dorothy calls out to friend Pearl Shaw, but gets no answer. Pearl can't reply because of the plaster dust clogging her mouth.
But she said, "I knew you were alive because I could hear you." So she climbed out, and then she came back and worked her way back down to me. She removed the bricks and all from around me, and we climbed out.
Both girls see the light of day and follow it up and out to the still standing section of the schoolhouse roof.
The first thing I see is this boy. I don't have any idea who it was, but he was covered except for his face, and so I ran and tried to get the brick off of him, and I saw that he was dead. So about that time, here comes Clifton Barton, and he is spurting blood. And I said, "Clifton, you've got to get down. You've got to get down."
The only way down is to jump. On the ground, oil field roughnecks have fashioned makeshift nets from the jackets they wear on the job.
They wore what you call jumpers in those days, kind of a heavy denim-like coat. And they had tied the arms together with several of these coats and made kind of a trampoline type thing. So I shoved Clifton off into that. And then we jumped down into that and got out. At that time, they were just lining up the bodies on the side of the fence there. But I knew that I had to get word to my mother and daddy that I was alive.
But there are many more bodies still to find. Don Siller's father is just one of many volunteers who arrived to help.
It began to rain just as he got there. The cars were formed in a rough circle around the wreckage, and with their lights on, the motors running, so that the lights from the automobiles could shine on the school and they could have some decent light to work by. The rescue crew grew from one person to practically everybody in town as the word got out that the kids were in there dead and or dying.
As rescuers work feverishly throughout the night, the residents of New London brace themselves, praying that as many children as possible will be found alive. Friday morning, March 19th, 1937. All of New London, Texas is involved in the rescue effort when the town's high school suffers a devastating explosion the day before.
The oil field workers, khakis and overalls, they're all in there working with people with suits, business people, doctors, no matter what.
While many parents are at the scene, others comb county hospitals and makeshift morgues, searching for familiar faces among the living and the dead. Ike Chalice's mother finds him in a nearby church.
She recognized me from my cowboy boots and my corduroy pants because the whole right side of my head and face and everything was all covered with blood and matted with concrete and so forth.
After hours of intense searching, it is clear that no more bodies or survivors will be found. Some 300 lives are lost that day, including over 280 students and 15 teachers. But the death toll is only an estimate.
No one knows to this day exactly how many were killed. I believe we have 313 documented, but there's still a lot that never was accounted for. Because there's a lot of people transit. They'd come in, they'd find work, or maybe they'd leave, go back to where they came from.
It is as if a whole generation has been taken from the community of New London, and few households escape untouched. 30 families lose more than one child, some as many as 3. The family of Lucy Walker, whose mother Eula was buying lunch tickets at the time of the explosion, is all but decimated.
That morning, her daddy had had a wife and a son and 2 girls. At night, he had just Lucy. All the rest of them are dead.
Dorothy Womack is safe, but her best friend, Ardith Davidson, is among those killed in the afternoon science class.
There was a fire in the science room. My good friend Ardith was, her body was burned. Those kids in that science room that we tried to get into so bad, only 2 of them got out.
Molly Seeley must also attend the funeral of her best friend, 12-year-old Geneva Jolly.
I saw her, and I think she should have been in a closed casket. One half of her face was just like her, but the other half was just all crushed up. And that's something, you'll remember that rest of your life.
Bill Thompson and his sister Linnell survive, but Ethel Dorsey, the girl he traded seats with, is not so fortunate.
My sister and I, we reported to school the following Monday after memorial services. Teachers called names, trying to call the roll and see. When they called Ethel's name, she wasn't there. They said she was killed.
A court of inquiry determines that leaking gas under the floor of the school's west wing ignited when the electric sander was plugged in nearby.
And the court of inquiry said that when it got to the right mixture and the right level, it was equal to 2 or 3 bombs. And that's why it was so devastating.
The inquiry also concludes that no one is personally responsible, including school superintendent William Shaw, who loses a son and a niece in the tragedy.
A lot of people was wanting to blame anybody that had connection with the school, but they exonerated. No one was to blame due to the fact they could not smell the gas. 3 days after then, though, the Texas legislature called a special session in order to pass that organization law so that we could smell it. That's why we smell gas today. If there's anything good came out of the explosion, it was passing that organization law, because it did benefit of saving lives.
In 1939, a memorial cenotaph is erected in front of the new school built in place of the old. Carved from Texas granite, it bears the names of the dead. But the pain is too deep for grieving parents to commemorate the tragedy any further.
The next year, they had set another Memorial Day to be held, but they decided it was too soon, hadn't enough healing taken place, too many hard feelings about loss of their children, so they canceled it and never had another memorial service until 40 years later.
It takes Bill Thompson 60 years to resolve the remorse he felt for one schoolmate in particular.
The one that's been on my mind is Ethel Dorsey, the girl I traded seats with that day. She died in my place because of that, and I felt a lot of guilt over the years. But I know today that I can't change anything. I just have to accept everything as it is.
Today, a museum in New London serves as a reminder of the tragedy that struck just across the street.
We lost a generation, and it needs to be, people know that there has been this tragedy, that sorrow has gone through our lives.
My faith has really helped me to go through the things that I've gone through in my life. You can't help but wonder what if sometimes, but I never dwell on it because the past is gone and God gives us hope for the future.
I'm sure a lot of them have drifted apart and away, but the ones that were in the explosion that day and survived, they'll always be close together wherever they are.
If you guys are preparing for the apocalypse or want to survive a disaster or just want to have a really awesome camping trip, check out the products we have in the links below. Just by shopping for these products, you help support Bad Day HQ. In fact, any shopping you do in Amazon while going through these links will actually help us produce more great content for you guys.